Access granted.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Redacted. I am Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80, and joining me today to chat about his brand new Kickstarter, Rhymes with Comics #1 graphic novel and soundtrack is Wordburglar. Hello, Bud. Thank you so much for joining me yet again. How are you doing?
So great. Always a treat to Diagnostic. I always want to call you Diagnostic 80, but Christopher, Chris, this is the best, dude.
That's when we're in work mode. That's when we're working together, production and rap wise. We have to refer to each other in our stage names at that point, don't we?
That's right. It's the code names, the identities. Yeah.
When we're working for G.I. Joe, we've got to work under the code names, man. That's how it goes.
Exactly. Our primary specialties. Yeah.
Oh, I should have worn my 1980 shirt, man. I love that 1984 shirt. It's my favorite.
It's all good, dude. There is plenty 1984s in the future, I will say. So.
Oh, sweet.
We will have more opportunities. Yeah, lots of fun stuff.
Exclusive.
Yeah.
No, first of all, I want to say congratulations on kicking off this amazing Kickstarter campaign. Now, obviously, this interview is going up on the day, so this is actually happening as it's available, so people might be aware, they might not be aware. This is a good opportunity, I think, to kind of like key people into what you're doing, what this project is about. But first I'll start with the fact that this particular music comics fusion thing, this has been something that I think you've wanted to do for a very long time, or at least as long as we've been friends anyway. When did the idea first come about, and like how has it kind of evolved? Because I know these things change over time as well to what we're seeing today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I love comics and music. I've always
just a little.
They were always together, you know, going to the comic book store, listening to music, reading comics while listening to music, you know, on my paper route, listening to music so I can make money to go buy comics and more music, you know, it was all, and action figures, of course. It was all, you know, they're just like intrinsically fused. And I always thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to do a Wordburglar comic, like do some comics of my songs, but I didn't know quite how to fully execute it at like a really high level, right? Then when I worked on Bergonomic, which features some Diagnostic 80 production, of course, I was doing the CD booklet for the physical booklet. We did a 28-page booklet. I'm sure I've got it somewhere in the Wordburglar here. I'm just stuff like on the ceiling. It's all over the place, deep underground, buried in CDs and toys. The booklet, I wanted to do art representing every song in the booklet along with the lyrics. So I got a whole bunch of different artists to do a different piece of art to have the lyrics. So I was like, this is going to be the greatest CD booklet ever. And as I was working on that way back in 2022,
the before four times,
the mid times, and that's when it kind of clicked in my brain that I kind of figured out how I could do the comic. And what I wanted to do with the comic was to only have the song lyrics on the comic page, but it was like a story as well. So I would script it as a story, but it was narrated by the rhymes, so that you could listen and just rhyme along and not be interrupted, because I didn't want there to be like the rhymes and then suddenly Verb Zerker rounded a corner, you know. Totally. I wanted an uninterrupted flow. You know, I've read a lot of comic books and I know what I like in my comics, and there have been music comics before, but the lack of rhyming comics, it definitely in my collection is like, it's crazy. So I was like, I think I can do this and make it really cool and unique. And so, yeah, we've got 15 songs illustrated by 15 artists.
That's crazy,
everybody is just bringing their A game. It's crazy.
So that's something I wanted to talk to you about. Obviously, the artist aspect. First of all, what artists are involved in this? Because there's a laundry list of absolute talent here. And what is it like working with all these these creatives?
Well, it's funny. I started asking, you know, we have a song called the Toronton.
All right, what can I tell you but the Toronton? Running along the dawn without long jumps. On foot in the snow going for wontons. By Spadina then sliding by your Toronton.
About the Tauntaun.
Never heard of it.
For those watching or listening who haven't heard, Toronton is well, he's one of those star camels who's friends with Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he moves here from his very cold planet, and he moves to Toronto, where I currently live. And the song is about this tauntaun in Toronto. And I knew, like, for example, so the artist Jason Lowe has done a comic based in Toronto called The Pitiful Human Lizard, which is just an amazing indie comic. And he's also just a master of...
He's a great artist.
He's a great artist. He works at Marvel now. He's doing tons of stuff. He actually worked on a G.I. Joe, for anyone out there who has the Canadian G.I. Joe comics.
Crazy,
the
isn't
Canadian Joe convention did. Yeah, he worked on those. So... that's a fun little Easter egg for our
Is that
show.
where you got that connection, by the way? Because I know you were doing Canadian cons back then, weren't you? The Joe
yeah that's the Canadian Joe Con years ago. That's where I met a lot of the Canadian Joe fans and a lot of the American Joe fans. You know, a lot of people came up then, so I got to meet a lot of cool people way back in like the mid 2000s. But yeah, I met Jason and I just kind of knew each other from when I worked at a comic book store in Toronto called
that's the other thing, is that you've been in that sort of realm in all sorts of capacities. It's not just you go to a con and meet someone. You've known people going way back in comics.
Yeah, like the other day I was on the subway and somebody was like staring at me, and then they came up to me and they're like, I know you. And I'm like, okay. And I thought, okay, maybe they've seen me in a concert or video or something. And the guy's like, yeah, you used to sell me comic books.
Oh, that's
and
brilliant.
I was like, yeah, man. Yeah. I sold many people comics. So a lot of times when people come up to me, they're like, do I know you from somewhere? I'm like, do you buy comics or action figures? I probably sold you some. Because Silver Snail in Toronto is a pretty busy place. So that's fun.
It's like the Midtown Comics of Toronto, isn't it, basically?
It is. Yeah. So, and that was a great place to just learn and just get exposed to so much art and creativity. I know we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
So we're all over the place, but I knew a lot of artists from my days working in comic book retail. And then of course from, being a guest at comic conventions and playing concerts at Comic-Cons and things like that. And I've just met a lot of people in the industry. So when I had the idea, I started kind of thinking, okay, who could draw Torontons? So Jason, obviously, I know he's a huge Star Wars fan as well, knows Toronto like, the back of his hand, which he draws with. And so I knew he'd be a great fit. Brenda Hickey, who's just an incredible artist who works on the My Little Pony comics. If anyone's seen the IDW My Little Pony, Brenda's work is insanely good.
Again, another
She's
very
so
talented
good.
artist.
Yeah. And I knew like From Earth is a song where it's about me rapping to a bunch of aliens about like where I'm from. Like that's the idea, the concept.
I'm from Earth. That's where I was made, like the cars that you drive and the records you play. I'm from Earth, yeah, like coffee and soda tins, hockey and the Minnesota Twins. I'm from Earth, it's a planet in the galaxy. Claiming anything else would be a fallacy. I'm from Earth, like toast and rice, no joke. I lived here most of my life. I'm from Earth.
And I knew I needed someone who could just draw a cool variety of cartoony aliens and monsters and like just really go all out. And Brenda, if you've seen Brenda's work on My Little Pony or some of her other great work, like I've never seen her draw this many amazing creatures and aliens and characters. It's amazing. It's really like a Jetsons meets like Futurama. It's just like really fun.
It's beautifully cartoony, isn't it? And it's, you can definitely see that sort of My Little Pony kind of style in there for sure. So good.
And that's fun. And then like Kelly Tyndall is a great one. I think like people listening to this will appreciate, because I'm a big Inhumanoids fan. I think you are as well.
Massive.
And I have a song called Blame Inhumanoids. And
this was Inhumanoids. It opened up my brain to this very day. Very few humans know the names. The evil lies within. I was right there, fool. The cartoon that defined my nightmare fuel.
That was one of the songs I wanted to adapt for the comic. And one time I was at a comic convention and I was sitting next to Kelly Tyndall and he was sketching Inhumanoids. And I looked over, I was like, is that an Inhumanoid? And then we just started talking and I knew, I'm like, okay, this guy doesn't. Yeah. And he just knew, like, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm drawing this like funny old Inhumanoid thing. No, he was like a deep lore Inhumanoids guy, which is, what I'm about. I'm like, I want the people who are fully connected. I want you to draw Gag Oil, you know, the monster who like, you know, digests you in his see-through stomach and
yeah.
ate his sibling in the womb or whatever.
Oh my God.
Just
I mean, that, when you
so
break that
crazy.
show down, man, it's like, how did they get away with all that stuff? Honestly, it's gross.
It's so crazy.
Do you know what's funny in my head is that I imagined this being like the that part in the Mars cartoon where the computer is selecting all of the people for the mission, and it kind of feels like you're effectively Matt Tracker and you're getting like your supercomputer to choose all of these perfect artists for this job. That's what it feels like.
Yo, I'm like Matt Track listing. That's a new alias. Yo, thank you, man. It's funny you mentioned Mask because
oh my goodness.
our friend Whack, who did the Mask comic book,
yes,
you know, that bootleg Mask comic, and
Mask 86,
Mask 86. So I had seen that, and maybe it was you who originally shared that with me or someone, and I was like, I gotta find this artist. And and so he has drawn I Don't Want to Go to Cobra La. And because I knew I'm like
absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I wanted someone with that like 80s sensibility, but not necessarily like an animated Sunbow style or cartoon style. I wanted it to be a comic idea of what an 80s cartoon would be, right? Like if you read the 80s comic adaptation of a cartoon, you'd get a certain kind of style.
Yeah.
And I knew Whack was the guy for that. And wow, like
he's incredible.
When you see I Don't Want to Go to Cobra La, it's just nuts.
Whack's great. He did a Night Force Lightfoot specific, like for me, and sent it to me as like a little kind of like, you know, because I did the Night Force Lightfoot cosplay years ago.
Yeah.
And he did that for me, and I was kind of like, dude, that's phenomenal. Like, thank you so much. So yeah, he's really cool. Love his work. Big shout out to Whack for sure, man. And it's funny. This is one of those people that like they go by that name, and it's like they couldn't be any more opposite of that name, could they? That art is far from Whack. That art is phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, I got to see the Lightfoot now. Nightfoot, maybe.
Nightfoot. Yes. Why have I never said that before? But yeah, it's stunning. It's phenomenal. But yeah, mate, I'm looking at the comic as we're talking, looking at the panels at least that are on the Kickstarter page, and that Cobra La one is gorgeous. Like you've definitely got the right people for the right tracks. It's really cool. So how is this with all of these artists involved? Is it going to be like just one big volume, one after the other, in the kind of book sort of thing? Like what size are we talking? I mean, what are those kind of details?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So it's an anthology, and the way I approached this was I love comic book anthologies where you can get a wide variety of artwork. You know, you could have like a matte graining style, and then on the next page you've got like Jim Lee, and then you'd keep jumping around. Like I love getting a nice variety, and with my songs, you know, that's what I like to do. I like a variety. You've got like crazy or slow or humorous,
switch
or
up on
dramatic.
You
got to switch it up. It's like anyone. If you make a good mixtape, you know, you want to have a nice variety. So when I made the comic, I approached it like a mixtape anthology, right? So
I like it.
You put on the album and you can just read through as you're listening to each track. So, and some of the stories are like 2-pagers. The bulk of them are about 8-pagers, and then some of them are as long as 12 pages. So depending on the song and the story, some are just like you've got the lyrics on one page and then like a crazy classic pinup. Because again, this is my first time doing something like this. We've got 100 pages, full color. It's launching. Our funding goal is 7,500 Canadian to reach the goal of making it at like standard American like graphic novel size.
That's about 760 trillion US dollars for those wondering about it.
Yeah, so you want it. I want to get like, okay, this is going to be a standard size of a graphic novel.
Yeah.
But our stretch goal, if we can do it, is what I really want is to get it to an oversized, right? Which is like a slightly bigger, then you can just enjoy it. Maybe you don't want to wear your glasses. You can just like take in all the artwork. So ideally, that's what I want to do. It's going to be soft cover, 100 pages, full color. And you have the option to get it with the soundtrack, or you can just get the book if you want. And so
Okay.
you can get the book, or you can get a digital download of the soundtrack. But then our stretch goals, if you back at the $35 tier, that gets you the book and the soundtrack plus any unlocked stretch goals. And those include, what I'm really excited about, a cassette tape.
Oh,
so it'll be the first time I've put my music on a cassette tape since like
I wanted to do that.
Yeah,
I wanted to do that ever since I got into music, man. I'm so jealous. That's amazing. Well, not jealous, because if Toronto will be on there.
Toronto will be on there, produced by Diagnostic 80.
Freaking amazing.
So so that if you pledge at that $35 tier and we unlock the cassette tape, you get the cassette tape, and then everything else that we're doing. You get the oversized edition, you get stickers, you get magnets, all that fun stuff.
You had me at hello. You had me at hello.
Yeah, it seems like to me, like when I support Kickstarters, you want that value, because you are the people getting in on the ground floor saying, look, I believe in this project. I want to help you do it. And you're always taking a bit of a risk, but the good news is I've got the book. The book is ready. Like, it's ready to go to print. Wow. So I wanted to have it ready before I launched it. I've been working on this behind the scenes for so long that it feels good that it's like, you know what, it's ready to go. So you back this thing, you're going to get it, depending how many stretch goals we unlock,
of course,
it might take a bit longer to manufacture the cassette, but we're good to go.
That's amazing.
And, it's, I don't know, it's going to be, as soon as we make that goal, I'm calling the printer and we're printing.
So what are all, okay, that's phenomenal. So can you give up any of the other stretch goals, or are you trying to keep them under wraps for now?
Yeah, well, I mean, the oversized and the cassette are the big ones right now. I don't want to, this is my first time doing a Kickstarter as well. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew.
Totally.
I would definitely like to do vinyl if we can get to that.
I was like, can we get another record, please?
Yeah, vinyl gets pricey, but absolutely, I'd love to do the vinyl. Yeah, there's going to be we've got cool add-ons. There's a brand new Rap Viper colorway design, which I can mention here. I can reveal it's Alley Viper V3 inspired, which is a deep cut colorway that I've always loved. And I know the heads here, people who know that V3, and I love that blue. Yeah, and I think the orange, it's kind of like a burnt orange pop-in logo. So it's Galapagos blue is the color of the shirt. And then you get a burnt orange Rap Viper logo. And this will be the first time we've ever done it. It's an exclusive for the Kickstarter. And if you know Alley Viper V3, I think you'll get a kick out of it. And if you don't know it, I think it's just it
looks dope anyway. Yeah, it's the great color scheme, honestly. And it's the same as the first Alley Viper, but lighter blue, isn't it, really? And kind of probably more a spicier orange, I would say, as well.
It's like a blood orange.
Yeah, it's like blood orange and like a really neon, sky blue, isn't it? Galapagos, as you said,
Galapagos, it looks really nice together. And,
oh, mate, that's awesome.
That's one of those figures that, at the time, it was a bit of a head scratcher, but also it looks so good. Yeah. And you're right. It is kind of a reverse of the actual original Alley Viper colors, but they just slightly tweaked it. I would love to know the story there about who chose that color theme, right?
It's probably something like the factory only had these colors at hand, sort of thing. It's probably one of those really boring things where it's like, I'll just throw that color on, I don't care, sort of stories, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, someone was complaining about the Sonic Fighters Road Pig.
Why? And
who is just so lavish and bright. But I always thought it made perfect sense, because Road Pig is like a punk rocker kind of guy. I see, if you are carrying that insane Sonic fighting equipment with no headphones on
and clearly no sunscreen either, because that boy got a tan, didn't he? He got a tan. He got a road rash, pretty much. That tan is incredible.
Oh man, that's why I love coming on here and talking with you, man. We can talk about Road Pig's road rash.
Road Pig's road rash. Oh my god. No, that's great, dude. That's amazing.
Man.
I'm stoked about those those tiers, by the way, those kind of extra kind of like stretch goals.
Yeah.
The other thing,
and you can also get the vinyl. Oh, sorry, yeah, like the add-ons. If people don't have my vinyl or CDs or my previous comics, you can get those as add-ons for everything. And yeah, just trying to make it all like as reasonable and manageable as possible, because you know I'm a one-man operation. That's what I always say. Like, we're working with a team, but I'm just like one guy, so that's why I'm doing that's why we're doing the Kickstarter, because it's like it's just me over here, but with a little bit of support from the greater team, we can make it happen. And,
dude, this is so cool. The other thing I wanted to kind of get into as well is what are the actual, if you want to break the pledge levels down so people can have like a good idea of what they can get into and what they'd be getting for those levels, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Okay, so we just have like a basic $5 pledge, which just gets you 3 of my songs. That's like an intro. Maybe you've never heard of me, you just want to sample. You get 3 songs, and maybe I'll throw in a couple extras. But that's just like a digital download for $22. And again, these are all Canadian prices, so it'll be a little cheaper for my American friends, and international friends is probably a little cheaper. But 22 Canadian gets you the digital PDF and the digital soundtrack. Cool. 25 Canadian gets you just the comic book, like the physical comic book, whatever size we print it at, that's just what you get. And then for 35, you get the comic, it's signed, and you get digital music with that. And that also unlocks all the stretch goal tiers. So whatever stretch, or like any stretch goal tiers that are unlocked, you get that with your $35 pledge or more.
Okay, cool.
And there's actually 2 covers you can choose from. We have a full color cover by Steve McNiven, or the black and white art. Because as soon as I got that art, I was like, this black and white art just looks perfect. And then my friend James, who does he's Signal Noise art, just look up James White Signal Noise, just gorgeous colors. Like, his colors on this cover just like exploded my brain. It's like this modern retro neon future wave synthy, I don't know what, just beautiful green and purples and pinks. It's just like awesome.
Didn't James do the Prophet Director Destro artwork?
He did. Well, that's it. Everyone's got to be connected to G.I. Joe in some way. That's just my only, like, my wife somehow is connected to G.I. Joe. I haven't figured out how, but because I only surround myself with people with 6 degrees of G.I. Joe. And,
that's brilliant.
Some way. So that's a $35 tier. You can pick either the color or the black and white cover.
Nice.
Then the next tier is $55. And that gets you both covers for anybody who might want to have both covers. Plus, you get the digital music and all the unlocks.
Yeah.
Then there is a tier. There's a comic book bundle tier where you get copies of my comic, The Last Paper Route. So we have four issues of that, which come in.
Also very cool. I enjoyed that very much, mate.
Yeah, issue 5 is in the works. That'll be coming along with everything else we got cooking here in the lair. And then that also gets you digital download copies of The Last Paper Route, as well as Snake Oars Pizza, which is a comic series I did years ago that's been long out of print. And it's about an evil snake person who fails at ruling the globe in the 80s and now has to run a pizza place. And I think I've got like physical copies of that somewhere here.
Where on earth did you come up with the idea for that?
I know. But this was this was one of the earliest comics that I did.
That's brilliant.
And so we did a few issues of that. So you get the digital copies of that book.
Also
really quick. Then you got the $70 tier. You can get either, it's the t-shirt level. You get either the classic Wordburglar black and white t-shirt, the I Burgle Words, the classic by Dave Howlett and Mike Holmes, or you can get that new Rap Viper shirt. So that's the $70 tier with the book and the t-shirt and all the digital stuff and all the unlocked stuff. At $100 Canadian, you can get handwritten lyrics, which I like to offer from time to time. And that's a limited tier because it takes a long time for me to handwrite.
I was going to say, you're not going to be doing like 500 of those, are you?
But they're great, and people keep asking me to do more. So it's something I love to do. Any Wordburglar song, I will handwrite the lyrics. It's
amazing. I got that on. What did I get that on? You did a campaign not too long ago that had handwritten lyrics, and I definitely jumped on that one. But yeah, it's definitely worth it. You have got probably the neatest handwriting I've ever seen from any rapper, because I've grown up, doing it and also being around a lot of them. and none of us have got good handwriting at all.
I still handwrite my rhymes in a lyric book, so that like in my notepads and on napkins, I'm always handwriting. So I guess I've got a lot of practice. And
Genius.
then at 2:50, I will do a custom rhyme for you. So a 1-minute custom Wordburglar rhyme that I will do. Then there's a retailer exclusive tier where you get multiple copies as a retailer. Plus, I'm calling it like the Rhyme Your Business tier.
Oh,
where
that's
I will,
genius.
yeah, and I'll shoot like a video rhyme for your comic or your record shop, whatever,
Brilliant.
and your toy shop. Yeah, so I'll do a Rhyme Your Business thing for that. Plus, you get a bunch of copies for your customers at a retailer discount. And then there's like an epic discography bundle, which is basically all my music, everything digitally, like a full digital discography of like tons of stuff, plus everything that we have in stock for the physical copies, like some vinyl, CDs. Yeah, so that's like a big giant Wordburglar if you want that big bundle, and that's about $375, I believe is the tier for that.
Really reasonable as well. Like I like all of those tiers. I think there's a lot there for people to jump in on for sure. Like that's really cool. I am definitely eyeing that handwritten lyrics pledge for sure.
And I must shout out Brian Sauer, who designed original official lyric pages for me to write. So you're getting it on like a nice cardstock now that Brian designed, and we've got them themed to whatever song you pick. If you pick like a Welcome to Cobra Island one, you get like that kind of like Rap Viper art. Yeah, it's and Brian is just crushing it. Oh my gosh, I've been putting so much work on the poor guy, but he's been doing lettering and coloring and design work, and just I think people are going to be blown away by this whole book. Mike Holmes is another artist who on the book. There's so many people. Troy Little. Oh my gosh, Scott Arnold. Now I got to shout out everybody. Kalman Andrushofsky doing Sega Was Bad. Jason Sandberg, who's like one of my favorite indie artists who I hunted down after not being able to track this guy down for years and years. He did an indie comic called Jupiter back in like the early 2000s. And I love this comic, but he had like almost no social media presence. So for years, he was just kind of this mysterious artist. And I finally tracked him down and we had a great conversation, and I pitched him the idea. And he's illustrating my song, Living Between Wednesdays, which is a comic book song.
It's days like this that make it worth waiting 6 to dip into the pages deeper than Project Pegasus. Some say it's hump day, others are oblivious. But for the brave and the bold, we're always living it.
Danny Zabel, who has done an incredible Rap Viper image that is kind of has been leaked and floating around. It's gonna blow you away. It's like a Hector Garrido like inspired piece that's crazy. Alejandro Moreno, who worked on actually X-Men 97 and a lot of the Marvel animated shows, like What If. He did another Rap Viper pinup, which is cool. We've got Hot Rod from the Cybertronic Spree doing that Metroplex life.
Some were born to transform into planes and go fly. Some were born to transform into cars and go drive. I was born to be a city base for my friends, living as a place where they can stay to the end. Yeah.
He did this incredible pinup that I want to do a poster of, and it's just this giant Metroplex with all the people like living their life in Metroplex, because I always thought he was the nicest Transformer.
Yeah, letting people operate all over his genitals and his armpits,
protective box in his crotch.
The armpit district.
Yeah,
that you called it. Yeah,
that's right. Good. Yeah, the armpit. You know, that's a historic property.
It is historic property.
Yeah.
I've got. It's so fun, man. I've listened to Space First probably more than any other piece of music ever in my life. That thing was on repeat for years, like seriously. So yeah, props to you on that one.
It's a fun one.
It's mainly because it had a lot of tracks of mine on there. That's the only reason.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, the diagnostic. There's more and more to come. You know, we got Revenge of Cobra Island cooking.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Yeah, once this comic gets out there, it's like, all right, because you know, I'm all in to make this comic as awesome as possible. And you know, I've still Revenge of Cobra Island is very much alive. It is sounding great, and I'm excited to just dive in now that the comic is like finally getting out into the universe.
I mean, I'm excited for this project, but my God, I'm excited for Revenge of Cobra Island as well. And I'm sure
it's not that good. It's gonna be a letdown. Yeah.
I'm sure everyone watching is also going to be 100% laser focused on how that's going to turn out. But yeah, that's going to be great, man. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing even more on that. Now, that is that's pretty much, I think, everything on what we were going to talk about regards to the actual project. So go right now, guys, link in the description, Kickstarter, go in there, get a pledge in, jump on this because you know you want it, and yeah, show your support. If you're a Wordburglar fan, and you know if you're a Wordburglar fan, you're going to want this 100%. So get in there, get on the pledges, and let's get this cooking, because I want this funded in Hiss Tank level timing. I want this funded in Rattler Dragonfly Hiss Tank level speed is what I want. And I want it to go into tier, like, you know, levels that have never been seen before. That's what
oh my gosh. Well, I mean, look, if we keep going, who knows what we can unlock. You know, there's definitely some opportunities for some really cool stuff here, and I hope this is the first of many, right? Like this is just 15 songs out of like 200 at least in my discography. So my dream would be to, if this can work, which I think it does, I think it's cool, I would love to keep doing this as like an ongoing anthology series. Because I've had some artists reach out to me, be like, oh, can I get involved? I'm like, oh, the book's already like done. But look, if we do volume 2, like I'm calling you right away. Like, so that would be
That's
great.
The genius part of calling it number 1. Like it insinuates there's going to be a number 2, 3, 4, 875,946. It's got like, that's what we're aiming for.
1980. Right? It's one in a 1980 limited series, right? 1980 issue.
Very limited. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That'll take till like, I don't know, the next 80s, I think, to actually come out.
Oh my gosh. I have to shout out Dave Howlett if I didn't mention him, because Dave and Brian have done more work than anybody on this book with me. And Dave's one of my oldest, best friends, one of the most talented comic creators I know. His comics are like The Makers, Disco Ripper. Go look up Dave Howlett. But Dave has done everything from inking the cover to illustrating 2 stories, The Other Shop and Verbal Pursuit. And there's a great 1984 Easter egg in there that Dave did, as well as some other fun things. But anyway, I just can't, like, everyone who collaborated.
Everyone needs a shout out.
Everyone, and so I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, Dave, I was just texting with him, and so thank you. I had to get that in there. So maybe like say halfway along in the campaign, we can hook up again, and we can talk about specifically each individual story and artist involved in it. We can go into a bit more detail. How's that sound? I appreciate that. That would be amazing. If you're not sick of me, and I appreciate everybody listening.
No, we'll definitely get into the details of the artist, because I think that's definitely something we want to do. Also, before I go, I should ask this. How did you choose the track listing? Because that must have been quite an interesting one. Was it based on sort of like which ones tell sort of a comic story? Was that sort of like in your head at the time for that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was tough. There were definitely a few songs I wanted to do as well that would be in volume 2. Like there's a lot I want to do for volume 2. But yeah, this one, it was a combination of what song do I think do I have it kind of figured out, like how it could look. Like Wordburglar, I knew, I'm like, oh man, I could see that as a comic from the day I made that song. He's like kind of like the He-Man barbarian Dungeons and Dragons Conan on acid kind of thing. And that, oh my gosh, that story, when people see that with all the Easter eggs in that book, is in that story that Troy did. And then I'd like pair with the artists, and I talked to artists. I was like, well, what would you like to draw? Would you like to do this? Would you like to do that one? And yeah, some songs just worked way better as like a full story. And
because in certain cases, you are literally, that's what you're doing. You're telling a story in some cases with your music, aren't you? It's not always just like, sometimes there'll be kind of random thematic things that you're doing where it's just like related to the theme that you're talking about. But there's a lot of cases I can think of where you're telling a full-on story. So it kind of makes sense to do some sort of like, comic alongside it.
Yeah, exactly. Like Your Friend's Brother, which is a song I do almost at every show. Like,
whatever happened to your friend's brother? Dude, I haven't seen him since like grade 10 summer. He used to drink too much pop and get a stutter. Come on, man, you remember your friend's brother? Yo, man, your friend's brother, he used to beat us up when we were way younger. He'd go around quoting Blade Runner and own tropical plants that made rubber.
People always ask for that song.
That video as well was brilliant. When you did the live performance in the arcade bar, that was genius, man.
Thanks, pal. Yeah. And I love that song. You know, that was the first song I did that my dad was like, that's a good one. Like he wasn't into like the Cobra Island. He was just all about your friend's brother. Yeah, well, Friend's Brother was before Cobra Island. He loved Cobra Island, and then like I did the Bill Mosienko song a couple years after, which was inspired by
Is he a
him.
hockey fan as well?
Oh yeah, well he's the guy who told me about Bill Mosienko growing up. He's a big hockey fan, so he loves that. But Friend's Brother was always the one where he was like, "This is like you got something here." These I don't know about these other ones, but this one. So that's a special one to me. And my buddy Mike Holmes, who's again one of my oldest friends, one of the first artists I work with on Wordburglar stuff. Mike illustrated Your Friend's Brother because he also did the cover for Third Burglar, which is the album that song was featured on. So every artist, there's like a good connection to the song. And you know, I didn't ask any artist to draw, you know, I didn't like force any artist to do a song they hated. Like I wanted to make sure they liked the song and they were going to bring that thing, right? Because I always hate like when you read like an interview with an artist and they're like, oh yeah, you know, I hate sectors, but you know, I had to draw the comic. I'm like, why don't you get somebody who loves? Now I don't know who's drawing sectors now. I'm sure
I know what you mean. That was
but you know what I mean, right? It's like with G.I. Joe, it's like people like, you know, dumping on the project they're on, and it's like I don't really like working on G.I. Joe, but you know, whatever. And it's like, well, you know what? Give it to somebody who cares about G.I. Joe. You know, like, so I want to make sure I'm not giving Wordburglar to someone who doesn't like this song. You know what I mean?
Totally agree. No, totally, absolutely understand that. That's really interesting though, because I kind of now want to go and speak to every single artist and find out, did you listen to the music as you were drawing it? And they probably did. I'm sure obviously they would have had to listen to the music anyway to get like a vibe or an idea of what's going on. But like, I wonder if some of them just had it on loop while they were kind of working on the project and stuff like that. That'd be interesting to know.
Maybe like my friend Kalman's a Sega fan, and he put in Sega Easter eggs on the cover of Bergonomic, which he illustrated. And then he illustrated the Sega Was Bad, this crazy 2-pager that he did like with the lyrics, and the cover just looks like a Genesis game that you would have killed for. It's a lot of fun, and they hopefully they listen to the album and they're the music and still do.
I do. Anyway, dude, thank you so much, mate. That brings us to the end of the interview, buddy. Thank you again for coming on, talking about the brand new Kickstarter, which is live right this second. Go in description, link, pledge. Let's get this going. Like I said, hiss, Dragon. I want it to be funded before you reach the end of this video, which goes out when it goes up. So
that'd be amazing. Take some stress off, that's for sure.
Let's do it. Let's get it done quick, please.
Cool.
Dude, I've said it before, but I love your work, mainly because I make some of it. But seriously, you're a top human. I am extremely excited for this new project. Cannot wait to have it in hand. And and like I hope you've had a good time, dude. Again, and let's get you back on halfway through, and let's talk artists. I'm locking that one in.
Thank you, pal. Right back at you for everything, you know, and keep grinding. I want to keep finding out more about everything.
Jojo belt buckles.
Or belt buckles. Yeah. What about Storm Shadows? What about the sash? What about what kind of belt buckle does he use?
He uses a ninja star for a belt buckle. That is no doubt about that.
Of course.
Dude, thank you so much, mate. That's it for this installment of the Full Force Redacted. Thank you to my wonderful guest, Wordburglar. See you next time. And as always, after 3, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3.
Full Force!
Brilliant.
Access Access granted.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. And as always, you can keep up with the show after listening by following on all of our social platforms, links in the description. And if you would like to contact the show, you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback or questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.
Access granted.